move on to the next area in the OAuth top 10, and that's broken authentication and session management. There's so many things that can fall into this category. Fortunately, they're all much more understandable rather than esoteric database syntax. For example, you could put in, is your login vulnerable to brute force? Can you harvest usernames? And I'll show you what that means. Can you do a denial of service by locking them out? What about the password management that's offered by the browser? Do you really want that for your high-end security app? I don't know. The remember me functions that I see some websites have. You have to make some sort of decisions about whether that's a viable option for you from a security perspective. Password resets and updates, security questions, all sorts of things. So we're just going to take a look at a few of them. Very important, sort of the heart of all of this is session tracking. What is session tracking? Well, we talked about HTTP. You make a request, they send a response. But guess what? Once you make that request and they give you the response, typically, it breaks off the network connection. And so when you want another request, you're looking at the web page and you say, I want this other link. Click. You now make a new TCP connection, and make the request. How do they know you're the same person, 5 seconds ago? Because you haven't maintained an active connection with them in most cases. It's stateless. So how does it know it's you? Well, that's where a session identifier comes in. It's something that the server usually generates and gives to you. It says, all right, here you go. Your session ID will be the number 123 to distinguish you from this other person who's 124. Session ID is given to you before, during, or maybe after you authenticate. Depends how they decided to implement it. There's security ramifications for each. But in the end, every transaction that you send, you're going to send your session ID. If you've authenticated, then that session ID kind of becomes your identity. It says who you are. You don't have to give it the username and password anymore as long as you have a valid session ID.